Hi, welcome back to Discovering Dataflows. Last week we enabled the resources to link to each other in the view, and in this episode we would like to be able to click this one and then switch the router up here. So let's see how we go about doing that. We go back to our list and we want some kind of click functionality on the resource. We could have a row click, but I think we're gonna add a button, and we have the perfect place to look for that, because if we go back to the app, we have the list, resource list, where we have this detail button, and I want to use this detail button and add it here. Oh no, it's gonna end up down here. And when we click it, we do not really want to navigate. We actually, there's no forward navigate or anything. We actually just want to get the resource we are clicking on, which should be available. See, integer I resource ID get field current value of ref table related resource dot parent to iResource ID, and then we want to clear resource, send clear, that's the request clear, resource dd, move the resource ID to resource dot ID, and then find, and then we're going to do the same as up here where we did the find, send request find, but this time we're going to do it on the resource. And this is the resource, and when that one is done finding, I believe everything is going to be updated. So let's see what's happening here. If I click here, no, I click on the info button, nothing really happens. So we might want to also send on before show resource soon. So this one is kind of refreshing and rebuilding the constraints and so on. See, that helps. So now I click main router, detail button, on click. Do we even get in here? Yes, we do. And we set the iResource to 4, which is the correct one. Yeah, no. We are actually moving from the resource we are on to the child resource that we have selected. So it's the child resource we want to click on. I'm just going to wait with that one and see what happens. Resource, and if I now click, we get in here, we get 10 instead, continue, now we're on the main router. Yeah, so now we can switch, but as you see, these data is not changing, we're just changing the header, so we need to actually call the on before show as well to make sure that everything in the view is re-rendered as intended. So now we get this one, and if we click here, we go back to the other one. Argus server. So now we can add, and I would be able to add another one. If I had one, dummy resource, save, go in here, we can go to the dummy resource. In the dummy resource, we can go back to the Argus, and we go back to the main router. So now we can actually navigate between the different resources we have. So if we have a system on a server and we go into that server and want to read more about the systems on the server, we could have a list where we just click the system available on the server. And that's one thing. Next, when we actually go in here and click to select the resource, we would like to filter this list a little bit. So we would like to hide all the resources that are templates, because these are templates as well. And we do not want to show any of the resources we already have selected. And we don't want to see the resource. Don't want to select ourselves. But before we do that, we also want to do another thing in the data dictionary. We want to do a validate. So before we save it, we want to verify that we don't have any values that we don't want to be allowed. Function validate save. That should return an integer, so we need an integer. iRetVal. And here we just want to check if related resource dot child is equal to 0 or related resource dot parent are equals to 0. Then we want to add this one, error defer no relation selected. And if the parent is equals to the child, we want to make sure that the relating to self is not allowed. And then we set forward get validate and save to iRetVal, and then function return iRetVal. And that should be that. So if we now just try to see if we can get this to fail, I was going to set a breakpoint in here, resource. If I go in here, now I want to edit, and I'm going to select myself. So it does a request validate and everything looks fine. And then we try to save. And we might want to set a breakpoint here as well, because now when we save, it comes in here and it actually validates before it's starting to save. So it checks that it was not 0, that was fine, but those were the same, so we get this error thrown. And now we can continue. We can see relating to self is not allowed. All right, so we weren't allowed to do that. And the grid got completely cleaned. That's not fun, but it wasn't deleted anyway. Now we actually have it as safety on the server side, but we also want to make sure that when someone comes in here, this is not an option that you can select in the list. So we want to go to the child resource web lookup, and in our data dictionary here, we want to add a constraint. And since it's a bunch of code with SQL statements and so on, I'm just going to copy it all in here and go through it step by step. First of all, we just want to set some value in the already selected resources, because we're going to loop the selected resources and build up that list with all the resources we have selected. But if none is selected and we add nothing in here, we're going to get an error the first time. So we have to have some kind of value in here. And then we check if the resource ID is not the current resource ID. And those are the checks we want to make before presenting the list. But in order to know which resource ID we're on, we need to get the actual resource. So we want a property that we can set right here, which is the active resource ID. So we get the active resource ID to the source resource ID here, so that we can find it and relate to it. I'm not sure if we really need to look it up. Oh yeah, we need this in order to find the resources we have related to our current resource. So that's the one, and then we use it here as well to filter on. But we need to set this one somewhere, and that would probably be best done in the pop-up. So we want to add an integer active resource ID, and we're going to set that. But if we do it this way, let's see, click here. Now we get an error, required argument missing. Yeah, that's because this one is not set. So when we click the pop-up in our resource zoom, find pop-up, child resource web lookup, we would like have an integer resource ID, and then we get field current value of resource dd resource dot id to my resource ID, and then we use that resource ID. So now we go in here, we look at this, and we see we still get all of them. Though, in order to use the constraint we just created, we want to send constraint of child resource dd. And here we go. Now we can only select the ones we want. Continue, continue. And now it is here. And it should have been saved. And we can go here and we can go back and forth between them. So there you go. Now there's only one little piece left of this puzzle, or maybe two. But I think we might want to stop here and do those next week. And that is, we want to fix the template type here. And we want to add the delete button so we can delete resources if we don't need them anymore, or if they're not related or we added by mistake, you know. So that's all for this week, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.